Abbie Lehman, but I got a lot of these stories. Incidentally, we're talking about two of the athletes that would be in the Mount Rushmore of Sharker volleyball. But unbeknownst to most of you, the builder, forgot the name of the guy. Anybody remember the guy who carved out old Mount Rushmore? Forgot the guy's name. He carved out a hallway behind the whole thing. I've actually seen pictures of it. And he intended there to be a museum built into the mountain. There's a hallway there. I don't think they got any further with funding. But if anybody would like to know the finer details about Sharker volleyball, come over to my area and I will have all kinds of stats and everything for you about our volleyball players. I've been hearing lots of numbers tonight with the track, and I certainly have my share that I could offer up to you. But one for sure I'll say about Abbie. I'll say it differently. So if you're a volleyball coach and you're sort of watching the next level players, Olympians, or some of the top players in the country, you're looking at length, longer athletes, but they also don't have an issue with speed, longer and faster, more powerful. So you often wonder if ever an athlete like that would come to you, come in your presence, what would you do with them? Well, I for years have imagined different routes that I would teach my middles should I have somebody long enough and fast enough. Until Abbie, there was only one. There was a girl named Marissa DeLee at the University of Arizona, but because my ideas were so crazy and strange, my boss refused to let me have at that. But along comes Abbie, and we tried some different things here with her. Different meaning unlike the way most people play her position. Also, for 3 of her 4 years on the floor, Abbie played what volleyball calls the M2 position. M2 position for, I'll say, better than 95% of the teams in the country get the lowest number of attempts. Abbie would lead our team in attempts. She would double the attempts of even All-Americans. So at the middle blocking position, it's one thing to have success rate, or high percentages, kill percentages, and hitting percentages. It's an entirely different thing, in my opinion, to have volume. Most people don't even look for it. There's All-Americans that don't even have it. But Abbie would wear teams out with her ability, with her length and her speed in these shorter, crazy routes. Got to be a quick decision maker. Abbie certainly was, and you have to have a setter that'll deal it, and we had that. But Abbie played the position unlike anybody else has. That's certainly that I have seen. In the way our sport's going, I just don't know if we're ever going to see anybody attempt that again. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. So if you ever want to know any more of the geeky stuff, come find me. I got a lot of numbers. Okay, I have to I have to add this. So, of course I knew about Abbie, right? She plays high school volleyball with Emily, and Emily's someone that was on my radar from when she was really small because of coming to camps, and of course I was going to those high school games. And of course, if you're a volleyball coach, you can't help but notice the girls that are 6'2" and 6'3" and all of that. But at no time did I ever have a recruiting interest in Abbie. And in fact, anytime I would ask about Abbie with Emily or her coach, now she's a basketball player, and you certainly hear enough of that if you're a volleyball coach, especially when you move to Kansas. But then this magical day came upon us. We have summer camp, we have team camp. This is going into their senior year now. And Newton High School signed up for, I bet it's the 8 o'clock session. It was the morning session. So I'm in our practice gym working with a few teams. Newton was one of them. And Abbie was a completely different athlete. Looked the same, but now all of a sudden she was coordinated, volleyball-wise. I mean, she was moving like a volleyball player. She had more power in her attacking, and it just blew me away. Well, that same year, we were recruiting a middle attacker, of course, but I still remember, I wish I had a picture of it, Abbie, but RJ and I had listed all the middles we were recruiting, and we did our best to just rank them in order. So it literally was down to the 40s or 50s. And I left that practice, and I went up there, and I slid Abbie into the number 3 spot. Okay, number 2 was a girl named Lehman. We have a Lehman and a Lehman, who was from Minneapolis, who played on some of the highest level club teams in the country for Northern Lights Volleyball Club, and had an amazing 4-year career at the University of Minnesota. And yet I was willing to put Abbie right below this future All-American, future national teamer, based on what I saw. And I said to RJ, when she gets to, was it Trinity High School, I think, that night, for when they were, where they were playing, I said, you better watch Abbie, and I want to hear what you think. Well, RJ wasn't nearly as aggressive. He had her somewhere farther down. I'm like, no way, you're wrong. So it was about trying to convince Abbie to give volleyball a try, college volleyball a try. And we started recruiting her. At the time, I was up against the mighty Gorillas of Pittsburgh State women's basketball, if you guys didn't know. And I'd like to meet Coach Wilson, Victor, because I was not nearly as successful as he was convincing Abbie's mom, as perhaps he was with your mother, because I realized right away it wasn't recruiting Abbie, it was recruiting Abbie's mom. I was getting the stare down every time I talked to her. I didn't know, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if it was basketball, or I didn't know what the deal was, but I thought there was no way that this was going to happen. But it did happen. So Abbie redshirted like Emily. She arrived on the scene, and with every semester that went by, she was getting more physically stronger and faster and just better at her position. Something I know Abbie's tired of hearing me say, but I'll say it again. I've reminded her a million times. Get that elbow back, Abbie. And as I look at this picture, I notice, Abbie, it's still not back, so we got some work to do. I don't know what happened there. I thought we accomplished that. But so in Abbie Lehman and in Emily, we had a special mechanism to our offense. And by their junior year and their senior year, they were just playing games with people. In fact, I can remember the night or the day that Emily set the all-time setting record here. We were taking SMU apart down there in Dallas, and they were just going completely off script. They were just on their own, doing whatever the heck they wanted to do to the Mustangs. And Matt and I were just sitting back, just enjoying the progress. But they were just playing that position, the two of them working together, just at a level that we just don't see. People aren't even trying to do it, to be honest with you. But it was magical. It was great. And Abbie had all the talent in the world. I said this earlier. I was talking about both of them at the same time. I still get phone calls from the coaches overseas about the two of them. Both of them opted to find their professions and stay in the States, but they, to this day, could still be overseas playing, but they opted out. Abbie, you did it all for us. I can't wait to have you come up here. Oh, by the way, she's still coaching a club volleyball team, so I see her in the gym every once in a while, still giving back to the kids. All right, one of the best we've ever had, Abbie Lehman.
When I look back on my time at Wichita State, so many positive memories come flooding in, from my coaches, from my academic and athletic support staff, from professors, mentors, and even the cafeteria staff, because let's be honest, we spent a lot of time in the caf. This brings me back to one of my favorite Lambeau stories. So our sophomore year, we started getting passes to get into the cafeteria to eat. We would get, 20 a semester? And so some of the girls didn't do a good job of using these passes. So when we talked about getting good grades, being on time to classes, Lambeau also told us that we needed to do a better job of eating so we didn't get this perk taken away from us. So at the end of the chat, he asked the whole team, he says, so what are we going to do better this semester? And one of my teammates said something like, get good grades or be on time. Lambeau says, no, we're going to eat. And we did a better job. We started using our passes. But Lambeau, I'm forever grateful that you took a chance on recruiting me and that you saw the potential in me as a volleyball player and as a leader. I met some of my favorite people ever at Wichita State, many of them being my teammates. From locker room dance parties, bus rides, plane trips, and visiting new cities, we always had fun times together. Some highlights include Missouri Valley Championships, NCAA wins, going undefeated in the first year of joining the AAC, and then getting to host the NCAA tournament. Wichita State volleyball took us to places like Philadelphia, Oregon, and my personal favorite, Hawaii. These team accomplishments and memories mean so much more to me because of the girls that I got to do it with. A big part of how I ended up at Wichita State is because of Emily. If it wasn't for Lambeau watching her at team camp, I wouldn't have been recruited. It is so special to be here with her tonight and to get to celebrate this accomplishment together. Love you. Another thing that came to mind as I reflected on my time in college was all of my family's support. My husband, my siblings, my grandpa, aunts and uncles, cousins, and friends came to many of my games and were always cheering me on. I cherish their love and support and still do. Don't worry, Mom and Dad. I didn't forget about you. Love and support doesn't get much better than you two. My junior year, my parents came to every single conference and postseason game. They probably would have my senior year too, but Florida and Pennsylvania were a little bit too long of a car drive. There's a picture of our match point win against SMU. When you zoom into the crowd, you can see my parents. My dad on his feet, fist pumping, my mom standing with both her arms raised up, them cheering with excitement over our win. These basketball parents became volleyball parent pros in no time. Thank you guys for everything you did and continue to do to support me and be my biggest fans. Speaking of fans, I can't talk about Wichita State volleyball and not picture many of the incredible fans. One of my favorite things about home game days was running out of the tunnel to a gym full of a cheering crowd. Thank you guys for supporting Wichita State athletics. You truly make it a special place. If it wasn't for my experiences at Wichita State, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I feel extremely honored to be selected to the Hall of Fame. Thank you.